Mary Pender Greene, LCSW, is a career and executive coach, organizational consultant, keynote speaker, and psychotherapist with a distinguished private practice. Recognized as an industry icon and an architect of cultural change, she is celebrated for her wisdom, innovation strategies, and lasting contributions to leadership, professional development, and organizational well-being. Please help me welcome to the podium, Mary Pender Greene.
I want to tell you a little bit about me. I decided that I wanted to be a social worker when I was in 8th grade. And I went from 1st grade through my master's in social work without taking one semester off. So I got to be a social worker quite early in life, and I loved the profession. I've never done anything else, never want to do anything else, and happier about the profession every day. I have taught, trained, and coached thousands of social workers and individuals over time. Many are in this room, so I am delighted to have you. And I have worked for more than 40 plus years of practice at 3 major mental health and social service organizations. And I have more than 30 years worth of private practice experience. I want to share some of the things that's helped me and others that I've coached over my journey to be able to stay awake and not be burned out. And believe me, it takes work, it takes lots of work. I want to share things about staying awake without burning out. I want you to commit to being your authentic self here. Social work has a special role in this difficult period. In the current moment, we are all dealing with some level of low-level depression. It's not possible to wake up every day and to be in the world that we're in and doing the work that we do without acknowledging that we have some level of depression. Everybody, no matter who they are, you bump into people in the street, the Uber driver, etc., keep in mind they too are suffering. And social work is more important than ever. We have trouble on every side, no matter where you are. And basically, our communities are suffering from deep trauma. It's hard to witness the despair. It's absolutely painful to do that. You turn on the news, and there's the ego parade and the political theater, and so much polarization. It's dizzying. Our communities are navigating fear about ICE, about lots of other things, and the instability. The other thing is there's so much social change that's different. In this small amount of time, it's been 1 year, and there's been so much change. Our systems are stretched thin beyond belief, and we're struggling as a profession to stay awake. But social work is so desperately needed at this point. And what's important is for us to be able to pay attention to ourselves in this journey. We're not only service providers, we're interpreters of the human impact of the moment we're living in. Which means that we need to remind institutions about policies that affect the lives of these people that we deal with. We have relational presence with all of the clients that we serve. And we hold space for people who may not fit into the political narratives that are going on. we're unique in so many ways. The work is not easy, but it's essential at this point. And waking up is not just about political wakeness, political woke. It's personal also. So when people are talking about political awareness these days, in a political sense, it's often about political awareness. It's also about awareness of injustice, awareness of policies that shape people's lives, and awareness of the social conditions that create suffering. As social workers, we're trained to notice all of these realities. And in many ways, we're trained to notice and talk about things that other people might opt not to talk about, opt not to see. We see systems that harm, and we see systems that were not created for the care of the people that we're working with. And we also witness the trauma, the trauma that goes over generations of people. And in essence, the work is indeed demanding, and we must be awake for it. We need the ability to pay attention to the internal work that's going on within the institutions. We are aware that in our institutions, there are subtle ways that we're encouraged to be asleep. And part of it is because institutions are safer when you're asleep, right? It means that we don't ask the difficult questions. It means that we respond to metrics and avoid conversations that might happen when you're awake. And often, in the midst of being awake, you can feel alone in the process, because in essence, it feels as though other people might not be paying attention. But the most important thing that's important for us as social workers is it means that the emotional impact of the decisions that are made about the people that we're serving need to come from you. Because in essence, most of the time we're working with people who are not able to advocate for themselves. But this stress and strain takes its toll. Burnout in our career, in our profession, is described as exhaustion from workload. And workload definitely matters, but it's not alone. Burnout is the cost of sustained awareness without support. When we see things and we know things that need attention, and we're trying to sleep to avoid those things, it's costly. So naming burnout is important because it's important to recognize it's not about personal failure. It's an awareness that's saying that we're still connected to the heart, the ethical heart of our profession. We talk about the code of ethics. We talk about it all the time. We teach our students, and we quote them in policy statements. And what's important is that we do all the right things as it relates to the clients that we serve. We're concerned about the health of the profession. But it is extremely important that we're paying attention to ourselves and how we treat each other. Because in essence, if we are focused on the idea of fighting for housing, healthcare, social justice for vulnerable populations, That's absolutely important, and it's essential for the external work that we do. But there's also the internal dimension. It includes the responsibility for the professional community, us. When social workers are exhausted, isolated, silenced, and under moral distress, it's information that we, when we're awake, we can pay attention to. And that information is so important because what we're needing to do is to ask things like, what are we asking people to carry alone? What truths are people finding and afraid to say out loud? Where are we drifting away from the values that we say we hold so tightly? And how do we repair harm inside of our own institutions? Now, the thing about where we are in life right now, many institutions are struggling because we have 5 generations in the workplace and people from every corner of the globe. And we serve people from in New York more than any place else. We serve people from around the globe. It's not possible for us to do this work without causing harm. But do we talk about it? Do we have permission to talk about it? And it's important. It is so important that we stay awake and not pretend that harm doesn't exist within our institution and within our profession. So the question becomes, what kind of professional environment are we creating for each other? And can we really talk about how supervisors respond when staff raises ethical concerns? Does your organization allow space for discussion about culture? How do you speak to one another in the moments of distress or stress? How do you respond when somebody names harm? What do you do about it? Do you pretend you don't hear it? And do staff feel safe in naming grief, anger, or difference? And we have a lot of that, a lot of reasons. And how is trust repaired when something breaks? No way that we can do all of the work that needs to be done and trust doesn't get broken along the way. What do? Is burnout treated as an individual weakness or a systemic signal saying something's up? We need community, a strong community. We need community as medicine. And by that it means that we have to be authentic. We have to be awake to see how we're doing and making sure that our voices are there at the point that something needs to be said or done. Building community isn't just about the work that we do for the communities that we serve. It's about the kind of community that we create among ourselves. Clinical insight doesn't just belong in the therapy room. Clinical understanding is essential in the organization because every workplace has an emotional life. Teams carry stress. Staff experience disappointment, hope, resentment, loyalty, fear, grief. And organizational decisions land not only as a policy, but also the emotional experience of the people who work there. We have to pay attention to each other. Clinical understanding allows us as leaders and practitioners to recognize what's going on around us, what's going on beneath the system. For example, often when somebody calls and reaches out to us, to our team, they want us to fix the staff because something's going on they don't like. Staff is unhappy, people are quiet quitting, so they want help. But they want help in fixing other people. So I often say to them that when staff become quiet in a meeting, it may not be disengagement, it may be their fear of speaking out about a truth that they see. When conflict emerges between colleagues, it may not simply be a personality clash. It may reflect deeper stress, role confusion, unresolved power dynamics, all things that are below the surface, and you have to be awake to see them. When burnout spreads across the team, it's rarely about individual weakness. It's often about the emotional load work has been placed on people, exceptional work that hasn't been processed. Clinical depth teaches us that we must ask more thoughtful questions. What are people carrying? What emotions are present but unspoken about? Where are people protecting themselves because they don't feel safe? These are social workers who don't feel safe. And during our consultation, when we're consulting with organizations, we're able to help organizations to create environments where people feel they can remain awake rather than pretend that they don't hear what's going on, don't see where it's going on, and they don't have to withdraw, sleep, or quiet quit. If we're committed to justice externally, but create environments internally that silence people, that exhaust people, that punish honesty, we're placing harm within our own walls. And we need to be awake to see and talk about it. One of the realities of social work is that we often create and experience systems where we have to make ethical choices. Because those choices shape the policies and the regulations. And what it means is that when you're a social worker, we're living with contradiction all the time. I so love this profession, despite its imperfections. A social worker may care deeply about maintaining families together, but required to enforce some programs or policies that separate families. A leader may see that the staff is struggling and overwhelmed with each other, but because of their contract, they don't have enough resources to do anything meaningful about it. And these experiences causes moral distress, and over time it leads to burnout, emotional disengagement, and it's especially difficult for most of us. We came to this profession feeling totally connected and saw it not as a job, but as a calling. So we hold these values deep, deep. We care about human dignity. And so it's really important that we keep in mind that when these values are not being met, we begin to question ourselves with, how do I stay true to my values in this imperfect system? And we carry grief for the clients who need more than we can give them to meet their needs. We grieve because the policies are not set often to meet the needs of the people that we serve. And the contradictions is a part of our work on a regular basis. Now we know that complex systems always contain some tension. So that's not the issue. The issue is that danger happens when we feel that we must pretend that the tension isn't there and that the tension doesn't affect us. And indeed, these issues become unspoken. We carry the emotional and ethical burden privately. And we want to make sure that when these things are named, our profession gains opportunity to respond with greater honesty. When we're awake, we can create systems, community as medicine, so that we are not feeling as though we're alone. Instead of asking, why isn't this person able to do this work? We ask the deeper question, what are the conditions that is causing this level of strain? Where are the ethical tensions within our organization? What is it that people are not talking about? We want people to be awake, to be able to talk about what's really troubling to them. We as social workers carry stories of trauma. We witness ethical dilemmas. We navigate many, many different kinds of situations. And in moments, we feel absolutely pained by inadequate systems. So what I want you to do is to first of all recognize that you're not alone. It's important to be able to create spaces so that when situations come up, you could say that this situation doesn't feel right for me. I'm struggling with this system, what it's asking me to do at this point. I'm afraid of what will happen if I bring it up, if I speak up. I feel ethically challenged. I'm overwhelmed, I need support. I'm grieving something that has happened in the work. When social workers spend days, day after day, experiencing crisis, trauma, injustice, loss, especially now, the level of exposure is extremely taxing. Our community becomes a place that helps us to wake up, to stay awake in the process. The other piece is that knowing yourself and what you need is key to preventing burnout. And I want to encourage you to spend time building community, one person at a time, one relationship at a time, and sometimes a group can do the same thing. So I now want to move to, and I now have to find it, move to the things that I wanted to share with you, because in essence, I mentioned that I have random things that I wanted to share. So please forgive me, they're going to be all over the place, but they're things that's kept me awake. So the first thing is that you have to care for yourself, no matter how busy you are. It's important that you do not confuse a career with a life. You need to do something sassy and sexy regularly. You need love. The other thing I want to say is that work is indeed meaningful. But in order for you to stay over the long haul, you have to have relationships too. You have to have places that you can go, people that you can connect with, so that you can stay the course. Also, remain curious about the profession. Take something. I've taken something every semester since I've been out of school. I'm learning new stuff all the time. Right now it's AI. Prior to that it was sex. And I'm a couples, family, group, and organizational consultants because I took something every semester. I know a lot of stuff, but you're not going to know a lot of stuff unless you do a lot of stuff and learn a lot of stuff. The other thing, this is so important to me, is to get a travel buddy for conferences. Never miss social work conference. National, local, because in essence, it's how we keep connection with each other and keep the profession fresh. And if you're of color, it's especially important because during most of my years, when I was president of NASW, as well as many times during the course of my career, I often attended conferences, and if I had not known better, I would think that there were only 5 social workers of color in the nation, because that would be who's at the conference. It's extremely important to connect with people, to deal with people that are different than you in every possible way, but most importantly, to be authentic, be honest with each other, with yourself, because in essence, connection requires authenticity. So thank you all for having me.